Welcome, Commanders. This guide will show you how you can go from a fresh starting save to being flush with credits as quickly as possible. It is current as of version 3.3 Beyond, Chapter 4 of Elite Dangerous. It will consist of 3 parts, each involving an activity that will earn more credits than the last. The first activity you will do is bounty hunting, in order to make some credits to make the second activity more efficient. You will only need to earn about 320,000 credits for a hauler ship that can travel about 30 light years per jump. An alternative to bounty hunting is to join a multi-crew ship in open play if you have the Horizons expansion. But, due to my intentions to make this guide as compatible with the core version of the game as possible, I will not be demonstrating that method. Once you have the 320,000 credits needed to build the hauler ship linked in the video description, you will then begin what has been dubbed the Road to Riches for the second activity. Due to changes in version 3.3, this activity is now faster than ever. This activity should net you anywhere from 10 to 20 million credits per hour. However, to follow along with this guide, you will only need to do this activity until you have about 8.5 million credits in order to build a deep core mining AspX Explorer ship for the third activity. The third activity will be deep core mining, which is very lucrative as the making of this video. It does require a little bit of skill and practice, in particular in identifying the motherlode asteroids, but I have successfully earned as much as 170 million credits in under an hour by doing it. If you've already been playing and have over 320,000 credits, you can skip ahead to the second part of this video. If you're brand new or struggling to make credits and just want to know where to begin, keep in mind that you can reset your save under the options. There's a reset option in there. When starting a new game and you have Horizons, you will be presented with 2 options. And since this guide is intended for both Horizons and core game players, you'll want to select New Commander to follow along with this guide. Name your ship whatever you'd like. In this case, I'm just going to name mine Sidewinder. And I recommend you choose solo play. Other players aren't very likely to be helpful during these activities, and it's the safest option. When you choose New Commander, it starts you out at Trevthick Dock, which is an LHS 3447, which isn't many jumps away from where I want you to go, which is going to be LTT 15574. So go into the galaxy map and then go to the route plotting tab at the top and search for LTT 15574 and then plot a route to it. And make sure you're set to fastest routes in the jump data section. When you first launch, you'll have to do a series of pre-flight checks. If you're new to the game, you might find it useful to turn these on so that it comes up every time you launch in order to memorize the controls. And when you're flying and not engaged in any kind of combat, I highly recommend you run 4 pips and engines and 2 in systems. And here I'll show you under the new ship menu how you can go and turn orbit lines on and off, as well as toggle the pre-flight check option I was talking about. When you launch, retract your landing gear and take a look at the disc in the center of the screen. That's the scanner, and to the upper left of it you'll see what's called the compass. It looks like a circle with a crosshair in it. Your target that you have selected will always be a blue dot in the compass. It'll be a hollow dot if the object is behind you, and solid if it's in front of you. Make sure you take the time to set the new built-in discovery scanner to a fire group, because you're going to use that when you jump from system to system. Be sure to set your HUD to analysis mode and use the discovery scanner when you arrive in systems in order to collect cartographic data that you can sell. Once you arrive in LTT 15574, you're going to want to target Planet 5 and fly towards it at full throttle. Pay attention to the time remaining to your target, which is the bottom number. It's going to be 0, which would be minutes, and colon 44 seconds just passed by. When that number reaches 7 seconds, slow down so that your throttle is in the mid-blue zone. Which you can see me do right there. And then you'll be able to just coast in while remaining pointed at the target. Once you get relatively close to the planet, you'll be able to go to your nav panel on the left and target one of the resource extraction sites in order to do the bounty hunting in. And you're going to want to choose the one that says high in parentheses because that means it's got the highest security. So you'll be able to assist the security forces in taking out the wanted ships, letting them do most of the work. As you're coasting in, keep an eye on the distance as well. And in the bottom left, you'll see a distance and speed bar. You can use those as a gauge to determine when you're getting close. It's especially helpful if your canopy is ever destroyed. And you'll notice that my speed is now in the blue, so what I actually do is I go full throttle at that point and ignore the slowdown message until you get to the right distance where you get the safe disengage message. And then you hit the safe disengage button, which is your toggle frame shift button. So what you're going to do is you're going to look for ships that are wanted and that the security forces are attacking. And the larger the ship in general, the more it's going to pay. And if you're destroyed before you turn these in, you will lose them. You'll see here that the security forces are firing on this Verdalance. You can see all their laser fire converging on him. So you'll need to switch back to combat mode for your HUD and pay close attention to the bottom left and the information about the target. When you select a target for the first time, it will have to scan them, which your ship will automatically do if you're pointed in a direction. And you're going to have to wait until it finishes the scan and says wanted down there before you ever fire. But the object of the game here is to let the security forces do most of the damage. Keep an eye on their shields and their hull strength in the bottom left as well. And what I would recommend is waiting until their hull is below 30 or 20% before you fire, because you don't want to draw any attention to yourself, because you will not survive an attack from one of these ships. But all you need to do is tag them before they're destroyed in order to get credit. So just kind of fly around like I am here until you find an opportunity and let the security forces do their thing. Now I find that flying with a balanced pip arrangement works just fine for this. You want to at least have some kind of pip power in your weapon capacitors so that you can fire, since you were flying in foreign engines and 2-in systems, so you don't want to miss out on your first kill because you forgot to pay attention to that. And his shields are about to go down here, and I will tag him with a single shot in order to kind of lock in the kill. And he'll turn red when I do that, letting me know that I've engaged with him, and I will then just continue to follow until he's near destroyed, and then I will shoot him some more just to be sure that I get credit. If you shoot too early before a ship is destroyed, it's possible to not get credit for it. This hull's at about 30% here, so I'm going to start tagging them some more just to be absolutely sure that I get credit. And laser range is about 3 kilometers, so make sure you stay within that at all times if possible. And if you're not aware, flying with your throttle in the mid-blue zone area is going to give you the most maneuverability, so keep that in mind when you're trying to turn. And boom, 143.6k for that single kill. And as I turn here, looks like luck is good. I've got an Imperial Clipper around, which is going to pay pretty well. And I'm going to just kind of look around for any combat. I generally fly towards where I see laser fire converging, and that's usually going to be a wanted target that they're destroying. And you want to get over there before they're dead. And oh look, a Python here too as well that could pay well if it's wanted. Aha! It looks like if I pull this off right, I'll get the amount of money I need in order to get that hauler just in this first series of kills. Alright, 197,000 for that one. I'm pretty close already. It looks like if I get this Clipper, I will be done with this activity already. Sweet, 149. That should be enough. Let me check the transactions tab. Yep, 522,000 in order to turn in. So I'm going to go ahead and target the station here in this system, Haxel Port, and head on over to it. Pardon my over boosting there. I'm used to flying ships that can boost almost endlessly, so it's a habit of mashing that button. So you're going to want to fly kind of perpendicular to the rings in order to break mass lock from the asteroids in order to be able to jump into super cruise to head to the station. Like when you were approaching the planet, make sure you're paying attention to the time remaining to reach your destination, and you're going to want to slow down into that mid-blue zone when there's 7 seconds remaining. Or lower if you happen to go a little too fast and it drops down to 6. 5 is a pretty much guaranteed miss, depending on the gravity of any objects around you that might be able to slow you down. You can try throttling all the way down to not overshoot, but the chances are high you'll shoot right past the target and have to loop around. Also notice the hologram of the station in the bottom left. You can actually use that to orient yourself towards the slot. In this case it's on the big ball side. So when you're approaching places you can make sure you're lined up with the slot, which is especially helpful when you're doing any kind of smuggling.
Authorization cleared. Proceed to landing pad 27.
Landing gear deployed.
Once docked, go to station services,
Landing completed.
and then you're going to choose contacts on the left, and then authority contact. And this is where you can redeem your bounty vouchers. And at this point, we're going to proceed to buy that hauler that we need for part 2. So this is the end of the first part of the video, and on to part 2, where you're going to go to the shipyard and buy a hauler ship. You might as well store your current ship because it isn't worth anything. And once you're in a new hauler, go to the outfitting menu under station services and sell the pulse laser under the hard points. Under Core Internal, you're going to want to buy a 2D power plant. Two D thrusters. A 2A frameshift drive. One D life support. And a 1D power distributor. The reason being is that the D-rated modules are the lightest weight. Now I'm considering a detailed surface scanner, but it's not necessary considering the new FSS scanning system will get you the same cartographic data that you would get in the old system. So we're going to derate the shield generator there. A 3C fuel scoop. Keep in mind that this build is linked below, so you can just look at it on Coriolis as well. And that should pretty much be all we need to get out there and start collecting some data. Be sure to set your discovery scanner up in a fire group. And you can see here that the current jump range of this ship is 29.92 light years. So what I'm going to show you how to do is open a different Road to Riches tool than I had in my previous videos. This one's called Spanch. The link is also below. So when you go in here in Spanch, you can actually put your current system in the field there, and then your current ship's range, and the radius and maximum systems that you want to be able to visit in a loop. And then it will give you a result of systems to visit in a circular route that'll bring you back to where you started. So we're going to end up coming back here to Haxel Port when we're done. So go into your galaxy map and the route plotting tab, and you can use the little button next to your search results and copy the first system and paste it in there to plot a route to it. Some of the names are funky, so it really helps to be able to copy and paste. If you are on a computer, that's super easy, but on consoles you might have to use some tools on, say, a smartphone or something, and copy and paste from Spanch on your smartphone into whatever utility or tool, app, if you will, that you can use to do a paste into the galaxy map on the console. Make sure you set your HUD to analysis mode and use the discovery scanner on every system you go to in order to get the basic cartographic data. And as you can see there, I was swooping by the star in order to get the fuel off of it there with my fuel scoop. When you arrive at the first system in your list, you're going to fly away from the star a little bit and slow to a stop in Super Cruise and open your FSS scanner mode. In the FSS scanner mode, you're going to notice there's a filtered spectral analysis text kind of in the middle on that little scanning bar. Kind of looks like a radio dial where you tune in a radio station. And you'll see little wavelengths on them letting you know that there are actually signals being detected in those ranges, and each of those ranges designate different types of planets or bodies, I should say. So what we're looking for is the stuff on the list. Earth-like worlds are in the range that you can see. I have the frequency tuned to right now, so there's a way to slide that, as you can see, to different ranges, and in the bottom right it shows what range you're in. So I'm in water worlds right now, and as you can see, when they light up, I can follow the little arrows and find it. And when you zoom in on it, you get the data that you used to get from doing the detailed surface scanning by flying over to planets. So it's actually faster, since you can just use this mode to hunt them down. And as you can see here, I'm actually using this with my mouse. It's much faster than any other control type that I've tried, but that's only an option if you play on PC. So you scan all the bodies that are in the list that you generated with Spanch, but you could also scan everything else if you wanted, because it's so fast, just for a little bit of extra data. If you're not able to scan anything, make sure that you used your Discovery scanner either before you entered FSS or after, because there's a way to use it afterward as well. So you zoom in and out, and you move around along the orbital plane and look for these solid rings, which are only going to be solid if you have the frequency scanner tuned to that type. So if you're on one that's not, you can just move the scanner and it will, into the range that would match, and it will actually allow you to zoom in onto it. And I'm going to go ahead and just scan everything here so you can get an idea of how this works. And then I'm going to skip ahead to the end of my route when I've returned to Haxelport.
System scan complete.
Okay, so I've completed my Road to Riches route and arrived back at Haxelport. So from here I'm going to go into Station Services and choose Universal Cartographics. And there I will sell the data for 7.9 million credits.
Incoming message.
Blocking the docking bay access corridor is not permitted. This starport will not allow such intolerable behavior.
So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy an Asp Explorer that I'm going to use for some deep core mining. Since I've made this video, I've learned a few things, including a build I like a little better than what I do here, although this does work. The other build has a little bit more cargo space. So that's linked below. Store your hauler, because you can resume Road to Riches at another time if you ever want to, and it's also a nice ship to get around like a taxi, so due to its low value, there's not really a good reason to turn it in. So head to outfitting. Buy some mining tools here. The seismic charge launcher is mandatory. You're also going to need abrasion blasters. And at this time, I think I could only afford 2, but you want 5 on the Asp, because you can converge all of your shots onto the deposits that you crack open and get 5 materials instead of a single or a double. So as many as you can afford is the way to go. You're going to want to leave the core internals alone and just go into the optional internals and put a 6E cargo rack in the top slot. sell the 5E shield generator so that you can buy a 3D shield generator. In this case, they have one here, so I'm going to grab that. And the ideal build that you'll see linked below, I would actually recommend a cargo rack in the 5 slot, but I didn't know what I was doing as much again, so I bought a 5D here, which should work. It gives you an additional collector limpet, but the cargo space is actually better. In the other build, you'll either go with a 3D or a 3A collector limpet based on your budget in this step, just like I did here. You just won't have that additional 5D. And you're going to need to get a detailed surface scanner. Throw that in there. And you're going to need a prospector. And 1A is fine. But as you can see here in the recording, I was thinking there should be a 2, but I don't think there is a class 2 prospector limpet option. So just so you know, 1A is fine. When you do the deep core mining, you learn to use the pulse wave scanner and your own eyes to identify motherlode asteroids. My budget was coming in really tight here, and as you might not know, the first rule of Elite Dangerous is to never fly without rebuy. So as you can see, my insurance cost was cutting it pretty close to my balance, and I wanted at least one rebuy. Unfortunately, I was only able to buy the C-rated pulse wave analyzer, which is not as recommended as the A-rated in this case. That's one of those modules for this activity that having the best is ideal. But you can get by. So when you go deep core mining, you always want to make sure you stock up on limpets. Your cargo space determines how many you can carry, and they're programmed by the controller to be the type of limpet that the controller needs as you use them. And you'll end up throwing a bunch away if you fill your entire cargo hold up with them, because as you collect mining resources, it will need the cargo space to put that stuff in there once the refinery fills up and needs to refine a ton of whatever material it is. And here I'm setting the priorities of the power on all the different modules so that you have optimal performance if your power plant happens to take damage. And with fire groups, I find that it's good to have your discovery scanner and your DSS on one group, and then your pulse wave analyzer and your prospector on another, and then your seismic charge on yet another, and then the abrasion blasters and collectors on another. So here I even only bought 2 abrasion blasters because I could only afford it, but 5 is ideal, and you'll see why soon. So I'm heading to the 5th planet here, just like we did for bounty hunting, and there's some hot spots in the ring there that we can use to collect some materials that at the time of the recording of this video, this station was paying just under $700,000 per ton. but these commodity prices change frequently. Within 2 days of recording this video, they only paid half. So what you do is you fly up to the planet until it's in view while you're in the analysis mode HUD, and then you open the DSS that you purchased and you aim for the ring and fire a probe. This will scan the ring and reveal any hot spots.
Surface scan complete.
As you can see, they show up in orange, and you can also look at them on the nav panel and select the one you're after. In this case, I was seeking out benitoite, but void opals have a potential of selling for 1.6 million per ton, and void opal hotspots are found in icy rings. Unlike approaching other destinations, you can't safe disengage right on the hotspot. So what you have to do is go somewhere in the orange and slowly approach the asteroid belt and just run into it to drop in. I find that when the ring's dark, it's helpful to turn on the new night vision mode, which you can do under the ship menu on the right. It highlights all the asteroids in green. So what you do here is you deploy your hardpoints and you start using the pulse wave scanner over and over, which will light up potential motherlode asteroids. You're going to find that a lot of them are lighting up because they only have surface deposits, which you're not after. You're looking for a core. But it's kind of deceiving because when you're new, stuff looks kind of bright until you've seen an actual motherlode. Once you've seen an actual motherlode, you'll see just how much brighter it stands out compared to everything else. You can shoot prospector limpets into them to determine if they're a hit or not, but once you get some skill, you'll only shoot those into ones that you're almost positive are going to be a motherlode, so you won't really burn through that many prospector limpets at all. So what I do is I cruise through the asteroid belt, looking around with headlook mode, trying to catch a glimpse of a very bright asteroid. Motherlodes are quite rare, so you'll see me pass over a lot of them here because I have an eye for how bright they need to be, plus some of them appear to be too small. The ones we're looking for are more egg-shaped, so you'll see me kind of cruise over and check the ones that look like that out a little bit more. You can also fly right up to them and use your ship lights and your eyes to look for fissures on them to rule out the fakes. That guy is a little too small, so I'm going to skip him. And I'm going to just go ahead and fast forward a bit here because it took me a number of minutes to find my first hit. And while this is going, I'm going to go ahead and discuss something that I didn't know and wasn't able to demonstrate at the time of the recording. But that is that if you hold the pulse wave scanner button down, it'll scan once, and then on the second scan, if you're looking at what is a motherlode asteroid, you'll see a lot of dark black lines on the asteroid for a second before they disappear and it becomes bright again. So unfortunately I don't have a video to demonstrate that, but holding the pulse wave scanner down will provide you with additional information on that second scan. As I fly up to this one to eyeball it, I don't see any fissures, but I do see surface deposits. The difference is a fissure looks kind of like a surface deposit, but without the actual material on top of it. One that's almost lemon yellow. This is going to be the first hit. Now right now you would do that double pulse wave scanner if you wanted to see the dark lines I was talking about. But as you can see on the left side of this asteroid, you can see a fissure. It looks kind of like the deposit that you see in the middle there. So once you shoot a prospector into a motherlode asteroid, it reveals the different fissures and the surface deposits. So what we're going to do is we're going to shoot seismic charges into the fissures. I like to target them first. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it does make aiming a little easier for me. And one thing that might not be intuitive about the seismic charge launcher is that it can fire in 3 different intensities. If you just tap it, it's going to be a weak charge. If you hold it for a second, it will cross into the second bar on your HUD there, which will be medium. If you hold it down a little longer, it'll be full power. So when you're shooting into this asteroid, you're going to watch in the upper right, and you want to get the detonation yield all in blue. So what can happen is if you overcharge the fissures, you might go into the red, and if you undercharge, it'll be in the yellow. And dipping into red or dipping into yellow isn't good. In the contacts panel on the left, you can detonate now or disarm a charge. However, if you disarm a charge, you won't be able to fire into that same fissure again. So if you do that too many times, you won't have enough fissures to fire into. Once the asteroid explodes, there'll be some loose chunks of material to pick up, as well as some surface deposits that you can blast off. What I do now, which isn't exactly what you're going to see here, is with that ideal ASP build, you only have 2 collector limpets. So what I'll do is I'll open my cargo bay and float into the asteroid and let them pick up all the loose chunks first, and then I'll go from surface deposit to surface deposit, blasting off 5 chunks at a time with 5 abrasion blasters, and then let my 2 collector limpets pick up 5 at a time before moving on to the next surface deposit. It really cuts down on crashing into your limpets and makes the whole process a lot smoother. So if you didn't pick up on that, what I'm saying is that you can actually shoot a surface deposit with multiple abrasion blasters, and the ASP Explorer has the best convergence with 5. So if you line up the surface deposit so it's straight ahead of you and fire into it properly, it'll generate an additional chunk for every bit of the abrasion blaster that lands. With some practice, you'll be able to line them up when you have 5 abrasion blasters to generate 5 chunks per shot. Here I only have a maximum of 2 with this build, so that's why if I could do it all over again, I would have went with 5 right from the get-go. I was still getting the hang of the Abrasion Blaster when I recorded this, but if you get a little closer than I am here, and especially when you have 5 of them, and you line it up straight ahead of you, not at an angle, you can pretty much get 5 chunks every time. With some practice, you'll be able to do that too. As you notice, as I got a little closer there, I was able to generate 2. At this time, I'm not sure if this is a bug or a feature, so it may go away. If it does go away, then the Python may be a better mining ship than the Asp Explorer. But as of right now, the Asp Explorer is the best because if you can generate 5 per shot, you're going to get double the yield on these. With the Python, you can actually arrange 3 or 4 Abrasion Blasters, but due to the convergence of the weapons on that ship, it's very difficult to land a shot that generates more than 1.
Programming limpet drone. Limpet expired.
As you can see here, since I'm not using the method I described earlier, I'm running into my limpets. They're pathing and dying because they're crashing into the asteroids and stuff. So it is better to blast off a surface deposit one at a time and let your collectors pick it up
Programming limpet drone.
before you move on to the next surface deposit.
Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet drone. Collector limpet expired. Programming limpet drone. Cargo scope retracted.
I'm letting this play out so you can see what can happen if you crash into an asteroid and lose shields. I'm going to demonstrate that you can actually reboot and repair your ship to get your shields back faster than waiting for them to come back on their own. So you need to come to a stop, and then you're going to go into the panel on the right under ship and choose reboot repair and wait until you can confirm and let it go through the process to get your shields back.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
Shields online. Thrusters online.
After I filled my cargo hold, I returned to Haxel Port, upgraded the core internals on the ship, and then went back out for more and returned again. So this is actually my second return where I'm selling my second load. As you can see, my balance is only 12.5 million because I did spend some on the ship. This is where you'd actually upgrade to the ideal build. And I picked up some Alexandrite that time instead of just Benetwite. When you're doing void opals, it's probably best just to focus on the void opals, because your refinery is actually additional cargo space, because when they're filled to 100%, it will refine into a ton once you sell the stuff that's in your main cargo hold.
Block the access corridor at any time.
At this point, I was 3 hours and 10 minutes into the game after starting a fresh save, and I had an A-rated AspX Explorer and 49.8 million credits in the bank. So now I want to talk about how you can make some real money. You can do this right away instead of doing what I demonstrated before, but you go to anara.cz in the link below for the commodity search. Search for void opals in your current system. And when you get the results, you can sort them after choosing best sell by price and distance from you. So you can find places that are buying void opals for 1.6 million per ton within range of your ship. You won't have a fuel scoop, but you can mine wherever you can possibly find a void opal hotspot in an icy ring and then travel to that location to sell. Or in my case, the location I found on here actually had an icy ring with a void opal hotspot in it that I was able to mine in and then turn into the local station. Now, I recorded myself showing anara.cz after the fact, so that data is actually obsolete, and what you're seeing here is data as of the day I'm doing this voiceover. So essentially you're going to have to be dynamic with this and kind of hunt and find places that you can mine and sell to really get the optimal pay. And you can use the Elite Dangerous database to get information about systems to identify what kind of planets and potential rings they might have before traveling there, allowing you to kind of pinpoint a spot that might have an icy ring with a void opal hotspot in the same system you want to sell the void opals in. And once I filled my cargo hold at the location that I went and mined void opals in, I was returning to the station there, and you'll see here in a second that a pirate interdicts me, or attempts to at least, and I'm going to demonstrate what you should do when that happens. When the interdiction minigame begins, throttle all the way down to submit. This will give you a shorter frameshift drive cooldown than they will have. So you're going to want to boost away, having 4 pips in engines and 2 in systems, and just boost as much as you can. This is why it helps to have a ship with an A-rated power distributor, allowing you to boost more often, as well as better thrusters or even engineered thrusters. And he will follow me and attempt to do it again, and I just keep submitting and running. And I've arrived for my final run that I'm going to demonstrate in the video. And when I sell these commodities, I'm going to get a pretty hefty amount of credits. But with the ideal ASP build with 96 tons of void opals and another 8 refinery bins full, totaling at 104 tons, will net you about 170 million credits. And that concludes the tutorial. I hope it helps you out, and happy hunting motherloads out there, and good luck.